Hey guys, Motorcar Nut here, and today we're working on part 2 of the cylinder head install video on a 2016 Ford Escape with the 1.6 EcoBoost. This applies to a lot of those engines, the 1.5, the 1.6, and the 2.0, maybe a little bit different here and there, but basically it's all the same thing. All right, so if you want to watch how we got to this point, I have the link in the description for part 1. Now, this is part 2, the install and start up. First thing you do, you should have cleaned off your head, your cylinder block. Make sure it's level with a mechanic square. I have videos on how to check that. Make sure this gasket's clean on the exhaust. Make sure you put a new intake manifold gasket. Make sure you put a new O-ring on the water coolant housing. All right, and also on this one, there's 2 little O-rings. So after you do that, you put the brand new gasket on, no gasket maker. We're just going to slide the head on, all right, and then basically take it from there. All right, I caught something, and I want to explain it so you don't go through the same problem. The customer brought the head gasket kit, which is all good, and you know, it's an aftermarket, a cheaper brand. A lot of times they work. It's up to them. You know, I don't really guarantee parts that are cheap. They bring me factory parts, that's different. But this is not just about a cheap part. I want to explain one major flaw. And this gasket that they bought is for this vehicle. You see over here the 2 little coolant passages on the other. Okay, let me back up. Here's the same exact, this is the factory gasket we took off. It has the 2 coolant holes that the coolant goes up into the head and comes back through these holes. All right. Now, on this one, right, it goes through these. There is no holes here. You see that? So now I got a factory one. And what do we got? We got the holes. And here we go. All right. I caught this. If I didn't catch that, the head gasket, what's going to happen? Let me show you where this goes with this one. So now, and this goes here, right? You see here and here we're talking about? The coolant comes out of here and goes back into here. On that cheap one he got, these holes are blocked. This part is blocked. So what that's going to do is create more heat in these areas where these don't even need more heat because they fail that way anyway, because it's the middle. You know, in between the cylinders, there's a lot of heat over here. So you need that coolant, all right? Now, that head gasket would have blown, and I would have thought it was, you know, maybe something I did. And in the meantime, I would take that gasket out, and then I wouldn't have to recharge him because it wasn't my fault. But I caught it in time, told him about it. We ordered the factory one, so now we're going to continue. That's just a note, guys. It's not bad to use aftermarket parts, good quality aftermarket parts. But for critical things, piston, rings, rods, bearings, cranks, head gaskets, big jobs that if they fail, you got to do the whole engine over again. You don't want to really skimp. Okay, so see what I mean? You see the holes here? Let me zoom it in. And you see the little slit in the block? That slit goes across where the water can circulate and go up and down. The cheaper gasket, for some reason, this hole was blocked. That's going to create extreme heat on these areas where it doesn't need extreme heat. It already has extreme heat, and it's going to prematurely blow the gasket. All right, so now, and what you want to do is you want to keep the pistons a little bit lower. See, I have them all evenly low, just a little bit before top dead center, because when we put the head on and the cams, and we tighten down the cams, the cams are going to push the valves, and you don't want something at top dead center where it's not supposed to be because it's not in time yet. And as you tighten them down, the valves are hitting the pistons. So to avoid that, you just keep them like this all the way low. Now we're going to put the cylinder head on. All right, before you put the head on, you have to oil the threads, a light coat of oil on all the threads. And what I like to do is get a little grease and put them on the heads right here. You see over there? So it's just better than oil. It stays there. So when you torque, if you ever torque the cylinder head when they're dry, it'll go pop, 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 like it chatters, and that's an inaccurate torque reading. That's why you want it when you torque, you want the bolts to go nice and smooth, not like pop, pop, pop. So that's why you put the oil, but I like putting grease, it's even better. All right, now we're going to torque them down, and this is the sequence. Here I marked it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. That's the sequence. You can stop this video and write it down if you want. Now, what they want is, in sequence, starting from the 1, they want 44 inch-pounds. This is inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. You do 44 inch-pounds, so you're going to need an inch-pound torque wrench. All right, you do inch-pounds the whole sequence. Then you're going to do 133 inch-pounds, the whole sequence. Then you're going to do 26 foot-pounds, the whole sequence. Then you're going to do 90 degrees, the whole sequence, and then 90 degrees again. So that's 5 steps. All right, you got 44 inch-pound, 133 inch-pound, 26 foot-pounds, 90 degrees, and 90 degrees. You're going to use a Torx 55. All right, for the 90 degrees, let me explain it if you're a little confused, is you put it on, right? Sorry. All right, so let's say you're torquing it down. This is the 4th step. All right, you see how it's horizontal with the block? 90 degrees is like that. Okay, so you do that sequence and then we'll continue. All right, so now we're going to put the exhaust manifold gasket on. And what you do is you just basically slip it in through here. Just move this out of the way, you slip it in. Okay, and then, it's a little tricky. But thank God there's no studs there. So you slip it in until you can align at least one of the studs. And then you try to put the middle one in, and then you can adjust it until you get, 2 or 3, and then you can just all tighten them up. All right, so after you do the exhaust manifold, don't forget this bolt for the cooling over here. This is an 8mm. And on this side, we have a ground wire. There's a bolt here. Let me see. It's a bolt with a threaded end, and you just put the ground wire on because that's important. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then you just put this little thing, you just push it on like that. That stays like that. Now, we can do the intake manifold or the coolant, whichever way you feel is better. Basically, you're working from the bottom up. All right, you don't want to put on things that you have things on the bottom that you can't do. You got to work from the bottom up. All right, so I'm probably going to put that shield on, but I want to see if anything else is in the way before I took off that shield. And we're going to continue. So we installed the coolant outlet. All right, 13mm. Remember the stud and then the bolt and then the nut. All right, make sure you put this hose on. Now, over here, there's a bracket. See this bracket right here? It has a 10mm bolt. Don't forget to put that bracket bolt back so it's nice and tight. Put this clamp back on, and underneath the coolant right here, you have a coolant temperature sensor. Make sure you plug that in. All right. Now, we're going to put the intake manifold on. Remember, it has 2 bigger bolts on the top and 4 smaller ones on the bottom. And you can even see over here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and you make sure this gasket is nice and flat. It's not caved in a little bit, so it'll leak. Make sure it's nice and flat. All right, we're gonna install this then. And I think I'm gonna put the exhaust shield on while it's like this without the mount, so I can move it a little bit and get to those bolts. Okay, so now the two top 10mm bolts are 155 inch-pounds, and then the four 8mm bolts on the bottom are 90 inch-pounds. That's for the intake manifold. The exhaust manifold is 15 foot-pounds. You tighten them all up, and then you check again at 15 foot-pounds. So basically, they just wanted to make sure they're at 15 foot-pounds. All right, and the sequence is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the back the same way. You work from the inside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that. Then you put the heat shield on. You have 8mm here, 8mm there, and 8mm on the bottom. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put the cam buckets in each one of them. Make sure you have oil all over each one. All right, and make sure when you put them back, you see over here, everything is in order. This is the front of the engine, and those are the order. You can't mix them up because they each have a different clearance. And after you put the cam buckets in, then you put oil on each one of these, like that, and make sure you get over here. All right, and then we're gonna put the cams on. Now the cams are on, and you have to make sure the ones for the intake, all right, they're numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 is always the beginning, but on the exhaust, they're A, B, C, and D, okay? And what you do is you want to keep them with the lobes on the number 1 cylinder kind of up, so there's no pressure on the valves. Same thing with these, you see that? And I'm going to show you later, but over here, we're going to do the timing. How you know that, you see this? It's kind of straight with the top of the block, and the same thing with this one. So when you put the cams in, you'll know that they seat in a little bit better. All right, I'm going to give you the Torx sequence and the Torx specs. Here are the Torx specs. You can stop it right here. All right, go like that. All right, you can stop that, freeze it, so you get the Torx specs. And what we're going to do, it's kind of funny how they want you to do it. All right, you went 1, 2, 2, all right, with here, 3, 4. So you got to, it's the same thing, in and out like that. And then we're not going to do this one right now, but this Torx specs are the first step, see, because they're numbered, 1 to 16, 62 inch-pounds. All right, stage 2, 17 to 20, 89 inch-pounds. Stage 3, 1 to 16, 45, an additional 45 degrees. Stage 4, 17 and 18, which are the bigger ones, 70 degrees. Then stage 5, 19 and 20, which is the outer ones over here. You're going to do another 50 degrees. So you have to have a degree torque wrench, or if you know how to do the degrees on a regular wrench, you could do it that way too. All right, but before we put this part on, which is here, you have to do a couple of things. First of all, you have to make, over here, what I like doing is like putting the seals on first instead of have to hammer them in afterwards. You just go like this. All right, you just make sure it's square on the bottom. You just go like this over here, like that. And like that. Make sure you replace this O-ring. Make sure this surface is all clean. And you're going to use, not a gasket maker, a regular gasket, silicone. You have to use this one. An aerobic gasket maker. It's like a clear, thin red or bluish color. And what you're going to do is you have to visualize that the seals go here, right? So the oil can come through here. So what you have to do is you have to seal it. You don't have to go crazy right here because this, when you torque it down, this gasket maker can go into the bearing. You don't want that. So what you want, as long as it passes this seal, you put the gasket maker right to this hole and then this way. All right? Same thing over here. You do it like, I'm going to show you how to do it. And you go around here and I'm going to show you what it looks like. And then you just tap it into place and then you torque it the way they want you to torque the 17, 18, 19, and 20 bolts. All right? So, is it that critical? That's what they want you to do. So, you know, there's a reason. So instead of trying to find out the reason the hard way, you just do it their way. It's a little more time consuming, but that's the proper way to do it. So what I'm going to do, this is already torqued. I'm just going to do this part now. And I'm going to show you with this gasket maker how much you put on it. And this is what it should look like. All right? Just like that. This red stuff is assembly lube. It's not the gasket maker. You don't want to have it in there. Okay? You have it just like this. And then we just put it on, tap it into place, and torque it to the specs that I just gave you. And now this is the same one. You put the same sealer on this all the way around. This is a little simpler. All you do is you put the sealer around. And try not to block the oil control hole. It's good to use compressor to blow it out. Make sure it's nice and clean. And over here, there's a little O-ring. Make sure that O-ring is there. Don't reuse it, replace it. I'm going to do the same thing with this one, install that one. And the torque sequence is basically the same as the cam caps. You just torque them inside like that, star cross on the way out. And you do the same thing with this one, 2 bolts, and there's a bolt here with a stud. You tighten those down, the same torque specs as those. And then don't forget, you put this back on, 12 millimeter. All right, now we're going to continue. It's a little bit, you need a couple of tools to do this job. You really can't do it, you know, just by, let's say if you're doing a timing belt replacement. Well, maybe a timing belt, not even with that, you're still going to have to line everything up because everything turns. What I mean by that is that there's no spline, no keyways in these. These just turn. The bottom crank just turns. Everything just, you know, free wheels until it's all set up with special tools. All right. I'm going to leave a link to a toolkit. It's not that bad. It's like about 35 bucks. It comes with even more tools than these. This is for the cams, to lock the cams in a certain position. This is to lock the actuators in a certain position. This is to put the car top dead center. If you're doing a head gasket, you're doing you're replacing the seals, taking anything off, you're going to have to set the timing. All right. And there's another tool down there. Once I lift the engine up, I'm going to show you. All right. So first things is this one. All right. This is going to slide in the back over here. All right, like that. And that's how you know it's in. You see over here? See how there's a slot? And the same thing on the other side. All right? And that slides in like that. And to double check, you see the valves right here? They're pointing up. Well, there's no pressure on the valves. The lobes are up. That's number 1 cylinder. That's what you want. Now, we're going to lock the crank in the top dead center. I'm going to lift the car and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so now there's going to be a bracket here that holds the CV joint. And there's going to be a bolt back here that you have to take out. You see that one right there? All right, and then we have to put this pin in there. And what this does, once you put it in there, it seats, the crankshaft's going to hit it. And when you turn it clockwise, and that gives you top dead center on the crank, because everything, like I said, before you tighten everything up, you see this? This is free wheels. All right, it could be anywhere. And here's another tool that's going to line up harmonic balancer. Okay, you screw the top dead center pin just like that. hand tight. Then you get a wrench, 18 millimeter, and you turn the crankshaft clockwise. You see how it hit? Listen. You see that? That's it. That's top dead center. You take this off. Now we're gonna go back up the top. Now we put the actuators on with the bolt just hand tight. Now notice that the intake, they're not the same, they're not identical. The intake one has a dot right there, and the exhaust has a line. And now the tool itself also has a dot, and a line, and it points up. All right, so right now, that's intake, that's exhaust. We're just gonna slide them on and just put the bolt on so they don't fall off, but we gotta adjust everything else after that. Okay, and you put the tool on, again, line with line, dot with dot. Make sure it slides all on, like that. These are still loose, hand tight, these can still turn. All right, and then the cam tool is still in here. All right, now we're gonna put the timing belt on. We're gonna put the timing belt on, and then we're gonna put the tensioner. Here's a new timing chain tensioner, timing belt tensioner. It has the pin, we're gonna pull that out later. And this goes right here. And you see that little square box, that little square hole? That's where this one goes. So, come on, adjust. So that square hole goes in that little hole like that, and it's gonna go on something like that. All right, now, after you get the timing chain tensioner on, you're gonna just pull out the pin. After you get the timing belt on, all right, pull it out. It puts tension on there. Now we're looking good. I'll go on the bottom, make sure nothing is crooked. What we're gonna do right now is we have the tool in for the cams, and we have the tool in on the other side. For the actuators and over here for the cam. What we're gonna do is you're gonna hold over here, see over here and over here, there's places to put a wrench. I put a 13/16 in there, it was pretty tight. You hold that, and you gotta torque the center bolts, and you're supposed to use new bolts. The center bolt with the Torx 55 to 18 foot-pounds. And the same thing with this one. And then you're gonna do an additional 70 degrees. So like this, that's 90, 70 is gonna be like that. It's good to have an angled torque wrench, but if you don't have it, you know that 90 is like that, 7 days like that. So if you want to be, it's not super critical as long as you get them in their numbers. If you don't feel comfortable and you're doing it the first time, it's best to have a torque angle wrench so you know exactly what you're doing. All right, we tighten them both down. So you got 18 foot-pounds, 70 degrees, and then 70 degrees. And once you tighten them down, just take the wrench again, right? Put it here and just move it back a little hair. So, because you probably moved it as you were tightening it, to make sure that this still comes out nice. See how that can come out? And then the other one, it can just slide out like that. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go on the bottom and we're gonna, I'm gonna show you how to align the bottom part of this timing project. Now we wanna make sure, you can always just turn it back a little bit and then make sure it's nice and top dead center. That's what you want. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that center bolt out. Make sure the crank doesn't move. All right, then we're going to install this tool. So basically this goes, if you still have your crank sensor in, take it out. And basically there's a little tab here that it goes into a little hole. And just this 10 millimeter right here. 10 millimeter? 10 or 8. And we're going to put this tool. All right, so I'm going to take this bolt out. And you should install that tool. All right. Okay, now you see that little slot in there? All right, and you see this? This is like basically like a tone ring that the computer knows what position that the crank is spinning. That's why everything has to be lined up before you tighten it down. And it's going to slide into this little spot right here. Okay? And you push it in slowly, but slowly, until you can feel it that it catched. See? It's pretty much there like that. From there to there. So you just put it like a little bit in the middle and you just push a little bit more. I put that so you can see it, but that's how it's aligned. And once you're in there like that, now we're going to tighten that bolt down. The crank bolt, you torque it to 74 foot-pounds. 90 degrees, and then an extra 15 degrees. What we're going to do now is take out the pin for the top dead center on the crank, and we're going to take the tools out, and we're going to rotate it almost 2 turns. Then we're going to put the crank pin in until it hits, and then we're going to make sure everything lines up with the tools on the top. All right, so now I put the pin in. It's at top dead center. Then we grab the tools now. All right, this tool. Okay, it's a little tight, but it lines up. If it doesn't go in, that's pretty much it. See? That's pretty it. That's it there. And this tool again. All right. Okay, that goes in good. I want to make sure it's straight. Don't worry about this part. It doesn't go in all the way over there. It just stays straight because it's, as long as it's flat here and there. And this moves in and out. That's it. It's not turning anything. And that's it. Timing's done. After that, don't forget to take out the top dead center crank pin and put the bolt back there. Okay, tighten that up. All right, now we're going to install the carrier bracket for the CV joint, which is right here. You just got to wiggle it in there and tighten it down there. And this strap goes around the CV joint. So, pretty self-explanatory. If you had to take off the diverter valve like I did for the turbo, you could just install those 3 little bolts, and then we're going to continue. All right, and then put the crank sensor, that 8mm bolt. And now, I think we're going to put the timing cover on. I don't know if it's in the way for other things, but I'm going to put the timing cover on now. This bracket has to go on. It has 13mm bolt here, here, down there, and down there. Then you can put the alternator, slide it back, and put the 2 bolts. There's one with a stud and a nut, and the other one's with a bolt. We're going to do that, and then we're going to put that cover on. And when you slide this cover on like this, there's a little rubber flap right here. You have to just take this out, so when you're, once it's in, then you can put this rubber flap and it connects right here. They do that so it's easy to get it over the gears. And when you secure the timing cover with the 8 millimeters, it's good to do the water pump pulley. That's 10 millimeter for 4 bolts. You get it down there. Now we're going to install the serpentine belt tensioner, and you have to put the belt on first or you're not going to get it off, get it on. Now it's a good idea after you put the timing serpentine belt tensioner to put the belt on before we put the mount on. All right, and this is basically how it goes. Now, you see that? It goes over the alternator, comes around the tensioner, it goes around the water pump. And I didn't put it around the crank yet because you have to get a 17 millimeter bolt, 17 millimeter socket and push it so you can just slide it on the crank, and then it goes on the AC, and then there's another idler pulley right there, and then it goes back up to the alternator. So that's the diagram. That's the routing. After that, we put the engine mount on. The bolts over here are 15 millimeter, and these are 18, all these three, all right? And this way it can be on its own weight, nice and even, and then we can continue putting all the accessories back on. Then start putting the connectors on where they go, like these up here, the plugs here, one over here, this one here. All right, we didn't put the solenoids in, but these are the plugs for that. It mounts here, and it mounts here. All right. And whatever you can put back, little by little, as you're going to do. Now, this bracket that we loosened so we could put the tool in, on the bottom 10 millimeter, and this one's a 10 millimeter. Make sure you tighten that bracket back up. And what we're going to do, we're going to put on the little cam covers, the one in the back and the one in the front. And then we're going to take it from there. And to seal these caps, you have to use an aerobic gasket maker. Do not use the silicone gasket maker. It has to be this. You put it on and you can roll it. I'm going to show you what it looks like. You put a little bead on there and then you can roll it to get all the areas. Just like that. You roll it on there nice. And you're just going to clean up a little bit over here. Just clean it a little bit because that's where there's a little O-ring. All right, so you just want to clean it up a little bit like that before you install it. All right, something like that. And you see the little O-ring there? Right there. Make sure that's there. All right, what I did over here, 120 inch-pounds. Same thing with this one. This one has a stud. Make sure you put this on. This is for the engine cover. All right, plug them in. I put the solenoids on. All right, now I'm gonna just put the overflow tank on, connect the hoses. Then we're gonna put the valve cover on. All right, when we put the valve cover on, you have to take off the solenoids again. I didn't realize that. Do thousands of different types of motors. I just forgot. Put a little silicone on each corner. One there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. And a brand new, go over here, a brand new gasket. Don't reuse it. It can cause vacuum leaks and drive you crazy. Put a brand new gasket on there. And now we're just going to install it. All right, you install the valve cover or cam cover, and you do the same thing. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, crisscross it, even to way out. All right, and you do them to 120 inch-pounds. All right, then I just installed the fuel injectors, the fuel injector rail, because the fuel injectors were in the head. You just lube the O-rings, replace them, lube the O-rings, and just slide it in, and then torque these down. All right, they want them at 12 foot-pounds. You know, that's, 10 foot-pounds is good. 12 foot-pounds, I didn't like it. It could be different engines. That's what I'm saying. With your own engine, you got to always verify your own torque specs. That's why I don't like giving them, because these engines, they're all different variations, and for some reason, some of them may have different specs. So, that's why I don't like doing that. I'm working on one particular engine, but these engines are in a lot of cars, different modifications, maybe different years they change design. So, you always got to verify that with your shop manual. You can get them online if you have a library card. They usually have repair manuals online for the torque specs. All right? And always refer to my description because I may have changed something or left something out. So you always check that. So you watch the video, understand it, look at the description, and everything looks good. Then you can continue with the job. Install these back. This one you're going to have to take out too, the cam sensor, just to put it back in. It's no big deal. I'm going to put the high pressure fuel pump on now. You lube the inside, lube the spindle. All right, you put it in, and we're going to just tighten those down and then connect the high pressure line from here to the high pressure fuel pump. These are Torx 45, tighten them down, and these are a 17 millimeter open end wrench. All right, what I did is I put this fuel line on, all right, and then it comes around here, and there's a screw that has a little stud here. You're going to put a nut here. And when you put this on, just make sure that there's a rubber thing in the back is on the outside so this thing sits flat. All right, and then you just screw it in. All right, you can put the spark plugs in. And then this little clip here for the harness, for the fuel injection. And you put the fuel injector. It's a separate line, the fuel injectors. You just clip them in. That's this little wire harness right here. All right, I'm going to just tighten these down, plug this in, and we're going to continue. I still didn't do the vacuum pump this side. I'm going to leave this for probably now. I don't want it to get too buried. All right, so we're going to do that next. Put the spark plugs in, put the coils on. All right, the harness is pretty much where you left it. You just move it into place, put it on its clips. I put the turbo pipe on over here. Make sure you tighten the clamp down there. All right, there's a stud here, and this is the little post for the engine cover. You tighten it here, and pretty much, you get the idea. Now, what else did I do? I think that's it for now. Now we're going to put on the vacuum pump. Now, when you put the vacuum pump on, there's going to be a gasket. You got to get a new gasket. And when we put it on, we have to put that vacuum pump on and these brackets, one here and one here. So you got to like wiggle it around and everything. I'm going to just make everything loose and then show it to you. And what else? First, we have to put that on, then we can put the rest of, like this plug that's heat. It goes in the back over here. But we got to put that vacuum pump on first. We're almost done. All right. All right. It was good that the car, it doesn't really matter, but when it's at top dead center, the slit inside where the cam is, where this rides on, will be aligned if you line. You see that dot with this little... You line these up, then basically you just put it in straight and it's going to click in. Then you torque them 1, 2, 3, 90 inch-pounds. Put this bracket on, bracket goes here. All right, you put 2 nuts there, 10 millimeter nuts. And then we're going to put the other bracket in the back. And then once you put the back bracket on, you can put the fuel line over here, lock it and make sure it's nice and tight. That bracket, the silver one, is where this one and this one, they sit away from the heat. There's a lot of heat back here. That's why this has the heat protection. And over here, this slides on this black bracket. Make sure you plug it in. And pretty much you can see where things go from now. It's really not that hard. All right. I'm going to put this right here. And then we're going to get the air cleaner and just finish it up. Then you put on the fresh air intake, 7 millimeter. Over here, the 8 millimeter and 8 millimeter. And then the connector, you put the air filter element first. And these are also 8 millimeter. 1, 2, 3, and 4. You do that first, then you put this back on. These screws take this right off. You just put it right back on like you saw when I did the removal video. And double check all your lines. Look at them, just move them. Make sure any of the line, nothing's disconnected, okay? Before we go to the next step. And don't forget this breather hose. I just installed that. I checked everything. Everything looks good so far. Now what you're going to want to do is put the coolant in there, put the engine oil in there. Do not put the cowl on yet. Don't put nothing on until you make sure the engine's running properly, okay? Okay, I just installed a new battery. Just put the engine cover on, primed it up, and we start them up. You basically turn on and off a couple of times to prime it. Alright. Had to run it a little bit. Yours should be a little bit harder to crank over, and then it should fire up. And even like if it may stumble a little bit, and don't forget, everything has to work in. These engines run on all hydraulic. That's why it's important to have the proper oil for all the hydraulics, for the valve timing, and to make it run smooth. It may have some misfires in the beginning. But you got to drive it, let it get up to operator temperature. The fans come on a couple of times. Check the oil, shut it off, let it settle down, check the oil, check your coolant, make sure there's no leaks underneath. I still have the wheel well off, the protective lining and the bottom to make sure there's no leaks. And after this, like I said, you may have some codes inside. Just drive the car first, erase all the codes, and then make sure nothing comes back. You may get a couple of codes unrelated to what you did, or what it can be an oxygen sensor, it can be misfire, you know, but it should ultimately go away. This one runs a little bit rough right now because we didn't test drive yet. I got to put the cowl back. I'm going to put everything back on. It's not knocking, it's not burning oil. Those are the things I care about. All the other things, fine tuning. It's okay. And then you just put, make sure you confirm everything. You put everything on the wheels and give it a test drive. And you just saved yourself about $4,000. That's how much they charge for this. All right, guys, Motorcar Nut, please subscribe, hit that like button, anything pertaining to the video, leave it below. I answer all my questions. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.